And many times what cancer will teach you to do is to hate your body. This body is failing me somehow. But I learned how to embrace it, how to really, really care for it, and to understand that it's more than just a physical body that I'm dealing with, but I'm three parts. I'm a spirit as well, because that's where my strength came from. My physical strength, my emotional, my mental strength, all came out of the spirit woman. And that was a revealing thing for me.
Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Business with a servant's heart. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk on life. Our guest will share his life story. We want you to success in life. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk on life. We're gonna talk on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are gonna witness.
Shout out to my sponsors, A Mind for All Seasons. Your brain is your greatest competitive edge, so why not optimize it? Just text optimize to 72000, 72000 for instant access to 6 quick videos that help you think faster, remember more, and stay focused longer. A big thanks to Epic App, the 4-step storytelling system I use every day to connect and to convert. Try it free. Email me at stever1961@gmail.com. That's stevr1961@gmail.com, and I'll get you the free app. Doing Business with a Servant's Heart was just named top 6 in small business marketing. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Well, welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona, and let's start with our grateful message for the day. I started this in 2026, and today's message is, one day you look back and be so proud how far you've come. Please do that, audience. Look back at all the wins that you have. And speaking of wins, this guest today is going to blow you away. Shut everything off for the next 15, 20 minutes. I want you to listen to my guest because her story, it impacted me. I teared big time when I heard it and saw some of the things that she did. But she's just a faith-driven, loving woman that just wants to help people in so many ways. So let's bring her on. Paula, welcome to the show.
Hey, Steve. Hello, everybody.
Let's start with your story. Start with the breast cancer and start from there.
Well, the story, actually, there was a backstory to the story. Okay. Prior to discovering I had breast cancer, I was, had a lot of weight that I gained from the kids and hadn't been working and staying at home. And so my little 5.5 frame found myself at 312 pounds. And I had got some pictures back from the family reunion, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do something about this. And so I just started eating healthy, moving more, monitoring when I ate, how much I ate, while I ate. And people began to say, I think you'll be a good instructor. And that was I didn't think of myself as being an instructor or anything in that field, but because I was already a florist, had a successful floral business, I think you'll be a good instructor, and I think you'll be a good personal trainer. And so I began to get these certifications and got excited about it. And then I found myself wanting to learn more. And this is where the breast cancer intersects with my life. I went to the Arnold Classic, which is, as anyone who knows anything about bodybuilding or any kind of athletics, that is the mecca of sports athletics in the United States. And so I went there to get an advanced certification and to train, elite athletes, power, speed, agility. And this is how long ago it was. Terrell Owens was there from, I think he was the Eagles, Ronnie Coleman was still competing. So these were some really excellent physical specimens, intelligent, vibrant, bright. And I wanted to learn, how did they achieve that? And so not only did we have a chance to talk to the athletes, but we had a chance to talk to the trainers, the nutritionists, their sports psychologists to understand that process. That's when I said to myself, out of all the split disciplines in sports we had saw, bodybuilding spoke to me. And so I began to pursue that. And in the process of pursuing bodybuilding, I discovered that I had a lump in my breast. I thought it was a training accident. I had dropped some barbells on my chest doing chest press, didn't think anything of it. And come to find out there was a lot more. And I was under 40 at that time. And so, it changed my life. The treatment had to be more aggressive, especially when they found that there was a family history. So it entailed mastectomy and the intravenous chemo and all of this stuff for almost 10 years out of my life. But one of the things that kept me going was one of these days I'm going to be on that stage. One of these days, a dream interrupted is not necessarily a dream gone, it's just deferred. And with my last treatment in 2015, I began training to become a bodybuilder in 2016 and have been competing ever since. So I learned a lot in that process, and not only about myself, but about the body, about the human condition, and about our relationship with God and who God is to us and what he can be to us if we allow him to be God in our life.
What a beautiful story. And dream deferred, audience. Write that down. It's such a positive thing. You didn't say your dream was over.
Mm-hmm.
It's just deferred for a few years. And you did that. What did you learn going from a successful florist business, didn't have to leave it, to getting into fitness and then the breast cancer diagnosis and to where you are today? What's one thing that got you through all that?
Definitely my faith, and it had to grow exponentially, and to trust God. You see, it's easy to trust God when we're talking about blessings and we're talking about all of the good things that God brings, but sometimes there's a process that we have to go through, and it's not a pleasant process. And I remember praying in my room because I was definitely faith-filled at that time and loving the Lord. And I got on my knees and I said, Lord, and I had prayed this prayer twice. On the third time, I was on my knees. I said, God, you are so powerful that if you wanted to, you could heal me and this would go away, because I had never had a surgery in my life, never had a broken bone, thought I had my whole life ahead of me, and they're telling me I got a 17% chance of survival. Lord, what's going on? You can change this. I don't want to do that. And I was in my daughter's room, kneeling on their beds and just really crying my heart out to God. I was like, God, don't you hear me? And it was one sentence that was a still, quiet voice. My grace is sufficient. And that floored me. I stopped crying because I had refused to schedule the surgery. I thought I'm just going to have to weather this because I'm not doing any of it. I stopped crying. I remember wiping my eyes and grabbing my phone and calling to schedule the surgery. And I went through it. And his grace was sufficient. I went from being someone who was strong and able and being a bodybuilder and all of that to not being able to sit up, to not being able to go to the bathroom on my own. All of those things, and certainly lifting weights, well, they had told me that's never going to happen. So I learned to lean on God's grace, not always looking for the good things, but knowing that all things will work together for my good.
Okay.
If I hadn't chose that path, all of the things and all the people that I had impacted would have never happened. That there would have been another destiny that didn't entail my involvement, my my obedience to God. And so I'm grateful for that time. I look back on it now. I competed. I'll tell you, Steve, I still had the port in my body the first 2 seasons. You can see it right here because the oncologist said the cancer might come back. And so he yes. Yes, and he did not want to take out the port because they felt that there was a likelihood that the cancer would return. And so I still had the port there. I still had the scars. I still had all of those visible reminders of the fact that I had been through this process and was still in the process. But through it all, God's grace was sufficient. I didn't look like the other girls. I didn't have the history of the other girls. And certainly, I was older when I came to the game. So those were all of the things that would have deterred me, but I remembered that God's grace was sufficient.
Multiple reasons to say no, and you didn't listen. And I do shout outs on my podcast. This is the first shout out in 900 shows. Shout out to God for being there for you. God bless. I'm so excited. And let's talk about fitness. I told you I was in the fitness industry 2023, whatever years. How do you think fitness helped you recover from the breast cancer?
Well, definitely the fitness helped me to understand my body. And many times what cancer will teach you to do is to hate your body. This body is failing me somehow. But I learned how to embrace it, how to really, really care for it, and to understand that it's more than just a physical body that I'm dealing with, but I'm three parts. I'm a spirit as well, and making sure that my spirit woman was being fed and being nurtured, because that's where my strength came from. My physical strength, my emotional, my mental strength, all came out of the spirit woman. And that was a revealing thing for me.
Powerful message. And I asked you, and our audience, think about this: male, female. You don't have to be a bodybuilder. Fitness could be walking every day. You could achieve the same things. You just took a different route. It's the route you took. I want to ask this because now I know most of your story. You became a champion over younger women. How the heck did you do that?
I'll tell you, Steve, I remember when I did my first competition, I still had the port, I still had the scars, and I was on stage looking at those other girls. And at that time, I was 50. I turned 60 this year, and thinking, oh, if I could just, and I saw one woman, she won the championship, the overall. And I thought, God, one day I would like that to be me. There was no reason. I got fourth place in my first competition. But I didn't let that deter me, because I realized that it was a process. And in this process, there was going to be some trying things, some things that were maybe not pleasant. And one of those is learning that I'm beautiful at any age, and I'm confident at any age, and that the age is not a limiting factor. It's just a factor, and of the list of things that make up Paula Davis, a very, very small factor. And then I had to put that in perspective, because you're right. I mean, in most of the bodybuilding shows we have, the age limit is over 35 is masters. Well, you have to know there's a lot of difference between 35 and 50 and 60, but all of us are put together. And to win the overall, all you have to be is 18. So I'm competing against girls. Now I'm down below the age of where my grandkids will, my oldest grandchild is 11, but I'm just saying. So at 18, and I have all of these women, but that was not my goal. My goal was just being the best presentation of myself that I could, talking to the judges, understanding what they're saying, evaluating the other athletes, and understanding that for me, this was a mission field, and that's what it became in my last several years of bodybuilding. And I'm so excited to share more about how we're doing that in bodybuilding. And so I realized that my purpose for being there, God didn't just deliver me from breast cancer and pluck me on the stage so I could win trophies. He put me there because he was calling me to another audience as a missionary. He was sending me into another mission field. And that's the field of athletes and bodybuilders. We are hedonistic. We are taught to depend on the body and the mind, but mostly it's the mind and the body driving the train. And then occasionally we'll give a shout out to or nod, to God. But other than that, it's all about the ego, the id, the self. And most of them do not want to be vulnerable enough to say, hey, there's something higher than me, there's something greater than me. And so in the bodybuilding, every time I won, this is God again, they give you the microphone and they let you talk. So every time I won, I got the microphone and I talked and I shared my faith, and began to use sign language as a part of my bodybuilding presentations, to not only make it more inclusive for those who are challenged and hearing impaired, but also to be able to say in a beautiful way that God loves them, that they have value. And so I began to do that. So part of it is that God said, hey, if you want this woman to talk at the stage, then you're going to have to make sure she wins. And
Yeah.
I've been winning ever since.
What a great motivator. You've had tough days. Business and life is not perfect. Everybody listening, I know it, you know it. What's a tip you give me in the audience when you have those down days? You've had them. I know you mentioned a few of them. What got you through those?
Remembering that this too shall pass. Uh, Sometimes when we're going through a situation, we get stuck in it. And if it's prolonged, if it's something more than what we think it should be, we get in this dynamic and we don't see the other side, or try to see what God is showing us or why we're in this situation. So for me, it wasn't always about, and I never asked why me. A lot of people who have cancer or something happened to me start why me, and my question I phrase is why not me. Um, and that changed my attitude towards even hard times, because being able to weather those and point people to God and showing them that He is real, that He does answer our prayers, that He does have a plan for us, it is my mission. That's what I'm called to, whether it's in flowers, whether it's in bodybuilding, whether it's in the not-for-profit circle. Those mission fields, God has planted me there for a reason.
Beautiful. And I want to jump into the nonprofit, because not that you've done enough already. Now you've launched a nonprofit. You just want to keep adding to it, which is what I love about you. You just want to keep giving. Talk about your nonprofit that you're excited about.
The Good Samaritan Project was founded in 2020, right around the time the pandemic had occurred. And I remember returning from traveling, and we had to come home. That was it. The curtain went down and everybody had to return home. You didn't know if you'd get across the borders. As I'm returning home and driving through all these big cities like Pittsburgh and Columbus, Ohio, and Columbus was heartbreaking because I remember all the bodybuilding shows, and all of that was, I didn't know. And then I got to my hometown and the streets were empty, and my friends, my fellow business people weren't there. And I went and turned the key in the door and I said, God, if this is the end, what do you want me to do? And He said, do what you always do. And so I got flowers and plants and gift baskets and called up some of my friends, and I paid my staff. I kept them working during the pandemic. And we went to give out flowers to law enforcement. We went to the hospitals, and we didn't understand COVID at that time. And so we were walking in place, in COVID wards, taking in socks and hand sanitizer that we made and masks that we sold, and working with retail that were essential workers, like those at Walmart and all those other stores that when people couldn't get toilet paper, treating them bad, and daycare workers and sanitation workers and all those people who had to keep showing up, even though we had the luxury of staying home. I mean, it was easy to pick out law enforcement and the doctors, but there were so many other folks. And as the pandemic wore on and we continue to do this greater work, it became apparent that the pandemic was was just a part of larger things that had been going on in America. The fact that the people were not loving on each other, that folks were kindness had went out the window, and loneliness had escalated, and isolationism. And so with the Good Samaritan Project, we began to say, what 5 areas are we going to survey? Because Good Samaritan says we are a brother's keeper. It really does not matter about where they come from or any of that. That's a non-factor. We are called to be our brother's keepers. And so the areas that we wanted to survey in, the first pillar is law enforcement, emergency services, and veterans. The second was family, youth, and elderly. The third was community and unity, supporting things that build community, that build unity. Fourth, economic development and entrepreneurship was a part of that. And then the fifth pillar is working in health and wellness for the mind, body, and spirit. The amount of just mental illness and emotional illness and spiritual sickness. And so all of our programming is in those 5 areas that we serve in now.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful mission journey. I want to end with this question. What does Paula Davis look like in the next 2-3 years?
Well, Paula Davis plans on competing at least for another 10.
I'm going to clap for that one. I'm cheering you on right now. Go.
I got 10 in it. I got 10 in it, Steve. And then we'll see what the Lord says. But I think for the next 2 to 3 years, really taking the Good Samaritan Project, and we serve Central Indiana, but really establishing chapters across the United States, because it is totally scalable. And the message we have, it doesn't matter where you're from. You've got these groups in these areas of service in your community, and that we've developed relationships with national organizations that we can help guide the local chapters and help them to be productive and produce community service that will effectuate the communities they live in. So that's where we see the Good Samaritan Project going in the next several years.
I can't wait to follow your path the next 2-3 years. I'm going to follow you, keep track of you, and see what you're doing. Audience, you're going to do the same. Paula, how can people reach out to you? And thanks again for being an absolute incredible guest. But I know people want to reach out to you and learn more about your story. How can they do that?
Well, you can always go to my Facebook page, which is Paula R. Davis, to learn more about me. I'm also on LinkedIn and Reddit. And my new book, Grace and Grit, can be found from brokenness to breakthrough, can be found on Amazon. So feel free to check out that book. It has a lot of good things that we've talked about and just kind of skimmed over, but it really breaks it down in detail. How do I apply grace? How do I apply grit to my life, to the mission field that God has called me to?
Oh, I'm rarely speechless. So I'm going to do this, audience. The first 3 people that reach out to Paula, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, and you mention this podcast or my name, Steve Ramona, either way, it doesn't matter. Paula is going to connect you with me, and I'm going to send you her book for free. So the 3 of you reach out and but you got to reach out to her. Don't reach out to me. I want you to reach out to Paula and connect with her and talk to her. I know she'll jump on a 20-minute call. I'm going to put that out there. Or some of the stuff that I went through, you're going to be blown away by what she's doing. But I just want to give back because she was such a wonderful guest. So mention the podcast. Paula will reach out, give me your contact info. I'll get your address and I'll send you out a book. And subscribe to a YouTube channel, mine or somebody else's. Here's a perfect example. You know, especially women, not that men can't resonate, because I'm tearing up right here. We're going to definitely resonate. But you got a friend that's struggling with a little health? Send this podcast. Have them listen to Paula for 10, 15 minutes. Make sure they have a Kleenex, because that's going to impact them. Me and Paul, that's all we want to do is impact people.
That's it.
How can we serve you, impact you? So go ahead and do that. That's why I think podcasts are so great. We could just really make a difference in people's lives. With that being said, me and Paul want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.